Hey everyone, it's Lucy from KBeautyHobbit.com. Today I want to talk about Adapalene and more specifically how to incorporate it into a Korean skincare routine. Let me just remind you that I'm not a dermatologist, cosmetologist, or an esthetician. Always consult a professional if you are able to. I'm just a skincare enthusiast who tries a lot of products, and recently I started to play around with Adapalene, made a lot of mistakes, and discovered that it's actually hard to find information online on how to incorporate it into a more elaborate skincare routine. So I am here to help you with that. First of all, just a really quick recap on what Adapalene even is. It's an over-the-counter retinoid. It used to be by prescription only. I think the best known brand in the United States is Differin. However, I picked up the La Roche-Posay version. It is the same product with the same active ingredient. There are just very slight variations on some of the other ingredients or like the forms of the other ingredients that the products use. The reason I picked this one versus Differin is because when you compare price per ounce, this one's a lot cheaper. Differin for half an ounce was about $15 on Amazon, and then La Roche-Posay for, I think this is an ounce and a half, 1.6 ounce was around $30. So double the price, but more than 3 times the product. And me being an accountant first and foremost, I went with that, especially since otherwise the formulas are pretty much identical. Adapalene is mostly used for acne control. However, it has some well-studied anti-aging benefits as well, as far as the reduction in number and depth of fine lines, but also it can help with hyperpigmentation. And I have a lot of freckles, which I don't mind, but I also have some post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation and some other things that I don't know if they're freckles or post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation or some sunspots. I'm not sure. What I do know is I would like for them to go away. So I thought I'd try this. I've been using over-the-counter Korean retinols for a very long time, and I just wanted to try this and see if maybe the results will be even better. In a simple routine with Adapalene, what the official instructions say are to wash your face, pat dry it, and then put on a pea-sized amount of Adapalene. That might work for some people. To me, it sounds horrendously boring, and I want to use all of my toners, essences, serums, and everything else. So I went on a quest to find a way to use it that would be a little bit more in tune with my personal skincare ways. I actually have a demo video that I'll link below of how I use retinoids in my skincare routine with the Korean skincare routine, and that's an actual demo of how to do it. But pretty much you can cleanse your face just like you normally do, use toner, essence, serum, and moisturizer, and then you have to let everything dry completely. So give it a good, I don't know how long it would take. It probably a little bit depends on what products you use and your skin, but definitely a few minutes. Maybe go do something else. I like to go and get my jammies on and then come back and put on Adapalene once your skin is actually completely dry. If your actual skin type or skin condition is dry minus combination, you can do what's called the sandwich method, which is doing what I described, your full routine, finish with a cream, let it dry, put on Adapalene, let that dry, and then put on another layer of moisturizer. That is called the sandwich method, and it can help even further buffer the effects of Adapalene. And let me tell you, based on what I'm reading from dermatologists and watching their content, putting Adapalene on after the moisturizer is dry is not any less effective than putting it on clean, dry skin. It's just less irritating. Which brings me to my next point. Start slow and don't be like me. So I erroneously thought that since I've been using Korean retinoids for, I don't know, a very long time now, a couple of years, that my skin was used to this and I could just go in with every other day right from the start. No, it went okay for about 3 applications, so 5-ish days. And after that, my skin said, nope, that is not cool. And I started to get stinging, especially in these areas right on the cheeks here. And it wasn't constant stinging necessarily, but even with things like sunscreen, when I would put it on, I would get stinging from things that normally don't sting, not exfoliators, nothing like that. And that was my first telltale sign that my skin barrier was rebelling. I also had some redness there that most people wouldn't have noticed, but I noticed because I know my skin. Start with 1 or 2 times a week for a couple of weeks. Then you can slowly increase the frequency, eventually going to every other day or even every day. but a lot will depend on your skin, and from what I'm seeing, it is still effective even if used a couple times a week. I think it's a lot more important to not irritate your skin versus try to use this every single day. Do not use any other retinoids, so no retinol, no retinol, nothing else while you're using Adapalene, although I personally use another retinol on my neck and chest. I don't think my neck and chest area could take the Adapalene. I think that's a little bit too hardcore for those very sensitive areas. So I use a different retinoid product. I have this Scinic Retinal that I'm using that I really like. I use it on the face as well before Adapalene. I stopped it now, but it's a very, very nice formula, and I already know that my chest and neck can take it. And I think that retinoids are still beneficial for the chest and neck. Those areas are still aging. They still, I think, can benefit from this, but I just think for me personally, Adapalene is just way too robust for that. If you have sensitive skin around the eyes or in the corners of the lips or in the corners of the nose, once your moisturizer has dried down and before you apply Adapalene, you can dot a little bit of petroleum-based ointment on those areas like Vaseline. My personal favorite is CeraVe. You can just cover those areas a little bit before you do Adapalene to make sure that none of it transfers. I haven't had to do that personally. I think maybe there's just minimal transfer with the way I do it, or potentially my skin is just not as sensitive as some of the other people. When I did have that irritation on the cheeks though, even though I wasn't using Adapalene while it was healing, I would still put a thin layer of CeraVe healing ointment on there before bed just to really extra protect that area and give it as much nourishment as I could while it was healing. The next tip is to only use a pea-size amount, but actually as you're getting used to Adapalene, it is okay to use just half a pea-size amount as well. And if you're confused how to spread a pea-size amount of anything on your face effectively, it's actually not that difficult. And I learned a fantastic tip from one of my subscribers on Instagram when I talked about having irritation from Adapalene. She said that instead of, so what I used to do is I would take the pea-size amount and I would kind of dot it here, dot it here, dot it here, dot it here, and then spread. Well, what she pointed out, and I think that's what was happening, the areas where I first put those dots in and then started spreading, those areas got way more Adapalene than everywhere else, and that's probably why I had irritation mainly right here and not on my cheeks or my, anywhere else. And what she suggested was to dot small dots all around. That's what I've been doing now. So I put a pea-size amount on my fingertip, and then I take my other hand and just kind of dab it and do dot, 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 just these little dots of gel, and then I spread it on a really nice. You really don't need much, and it spreads very, very, very easily. Pea-size amount is absolutely plenty. Just don't glob it on one spot and then try to spread it all over your face. That does not work really well and can potentially irritate that first point of contact. Something to keep in mind is that Adapalene has a somewhat delayed reaction. So when you're first starting out, if you're like me, you might have applied it 1, 2, 3 times and your skin is doing fine, so you think you're in the clear and you're fine, and then on day 5 or 6 or 7, everything just freaks out and you start to have stinging or flaking or any of those other things. And a little bit of that is normal. It's called retinization. A little bit of that is just your skin getting used to it, just like a little bit of purging is normal, where you might have a bit of a worse breakout situation if you're acne prone when starting Adapalene. Some of it is just normal and you just have to go through that before your face is totally used to it. But what I was going through was not normal. That was just me being impatient and ruining everything and not taking into account that there's a delayed reaction, and that just because I'm done, or that just because I'm okay on day 3 does not mean I'm actually okay. My next tip is to not exfoliate with anything else, at least for a while your skin is getting used to it. After you're all retinized and know how your skin is reacting, you figured out the frequency that Adapalene is working for you, and you pretty much feel back to normal after the retinization process, you can start experimenting with some exfoliation, see what works for you. But while you're getting used to Adapalene, definitely no scrubs, no peeling gels, no leave-on acids, definitely nothing like the ordinary peeling solution, the red stuff that was all over TikTok for a while. None of that. Just baby your skin, be nice to it, and of course sunscreen every single day. I know there's a common myth out there, or a common misconception rather, that retinoids make you more sensitive to the sun. Apparently that's been debunked now. They don't really make you more sensitive to the sun, but however they can make you more irritated, and then irritated skin can be more sensitive to the sun. Plus, retinoids degrade in sunlight, which is why you want to use them on at night and not in the morning. Although I think some people, like with Differin, sometimes use it in the mornings, and just fine. But regardless of all of that, you do want to use a sunscreen every day, whether you're on Differin or not, just to protect your skin. And my last tip is to be super patient, and that goes both to introducing it. Don't jump in like I did with every other day right away, but also even the instructions, the little booklet that this product comes with says that it can take up to 12 weeks to see results. I do think this is a bit of a harder skincare product to introduce than, let's say, Korean toner or a cream or something that's super pleasant to use and it makes your skin look better and more plump and hydrated right away. This one, right away, there's really no difference. Right away you might get some irritation or flaking, right? Right away it's just not going to do much, but after 12 weeks the results that I'm seeing people experience are worth it to me. So I am sticking with it, and I hope you do as well if you decide to try it. If you're an experienced Adapalene Differin / La Roche-Posay user, please drop your best tips in the comments, especially if you pair that with a Korean skincare routine, because I love learning from people. I'm learning so much, and I already learned so much just by posting about my irritation on my Instagram. Thank you very much for joining me today. I hope this was useful, and again, please share with me your best tips. You can find me on Instagram at KBeautyHobbit, on my blog, KBeautyHobbit.com, and in my Facebook group, Korean Beauty Fanatics. I'll see you in my next video. Until then, please remember to always listen to your skin. Thank you so much. Bye.